Imagine you are standing on a battlefield, destruction all around you, and drops of blood hanging in the air. This was the world of Genghis Khan, the founder and first ruler of the Mongol Empire, a warrior whose name alone made people tremble. He was the most ruthless warrior of his time, who, between 1206 and 1227, in just 21 years, is said to have taken the lives of around 40 million people and absorbed vast territories into the Mongol Empire, including lands across China, Iran, Iraq, Uzbekistan, Japan, Hungary, Russia, Afghanistan, Siberia, and Bulgaria, in total adding territory from 16 regions. His army was an unstoppable war machine. It destroyed every empire that stood in its path. In 1221, Genghis Khan and his 50,000 Mongol soldiers fought a terrible battle near the Indus River at Kalabagh in Punjab and captured the Khwarazmian Empire. The battlefield had turned red with blood. Piles of corpses lay everywhere. The last man of Khwarazm had been killed. The cries of Genghis Khan's victory were echoing. Now he stood on the banks of the Indus River, looking toward India. Between Genghis Khan and the richest land in the world, India, lay only the Indus River. Genghis Khan needed only to give one order to his Mongol army. The richest empires, those with 30% of the world's GDP, would have lain at his feet, yet he did not do it. Why did Genghis Khan, who could easily crush the greatest empires into dust, choose not to attack the immensely wealthy land of India when he had the chance? Well, hello guys, I'm A2, and let's begin today's new episode. Friends, India, known as the Golden Bird, was a land whose heritage, wealth, and culture had for centuries attracted foreign invasions. At that time, India's lands were considered even more valuable than gold. Genghis Khan needed only to order his army to cross the Indus to conquer India. At that time, India was ruled by the Mamluk dynasty under Shams-ud-Din Iltutmish, a dynasty established in 1206 by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak. Iltutmish had no real experience of warfare, so taking Delhi would have been an extremely easy task for Genghis Khan. But that did not happen. Instead, Genghis Khan conquered the Khwarazmian Empire, present-day Central Asia, Afghanistan, and Iran, left some of his Mongol officers there to secure the region, and returned to China. Why did Genghis Khan decide to return rather than attack India? To understand this, we must see Genghis Khan the ruler in two ways: how he became so powerful, and why he began attacking and assimilating different empires into the Mongol Empire. Look, Genghis Khan's personality is nothing short of a mystery. Much of what we know about Genghis Khan comes from the secret history of the Mongols. The real secret of his story is hidden in the hardships of his early life. So let's begin from the start. In 1162, in the farming and mountainous regions of Mongolia, near the Onon River, a child named Temujin was born. Nobody could have imagined that this child would one day become the ruler of the world's largest empire. Temujin's father, Yesugei, was the chief of the Mongolian Borjigin tribe, so Temujin's early life was comfortable, but only until he was 9 years old. Then his life changed in an instant. His father was poisoned by enemy tribes, and the new tribal chief expelled Temujin and his family from the tribe, leaving them to die in Mongolia's cold, harsh hills, where being without help meant death. But Temujin and his family survived. They fought through those hardships and made themselves stronger. Those difficult years taught Temujin that strength and wealth mattered only if you also had political power. From his father's life, he learned that wealth without political acumen could be taken away in a single blow by other powerful men, and he resolved, never again should another politically powerful person seize everything from him at once. This idea took root in Temujin's mind and transformed him into Genghis Khan. He fixed one dream: to become the most politically powerful person in the world, to build an empire so mighty that no one could raise their head against it. And he succeeded. Within 25 years, he created one of the largest and most powerful empires the world had ever seen. So formidable that no one wanted to fight it. But the question remains, why did Genghis Khan choose to attack and absorb certain empires? This story is interesting because due to European propaganda, we often view Genghis Khan as a merciless, cruel ruler who attacked other empires merely for plunder. But if we carefully study Genghis Khan's life and the real reasons he attacked other empires, we'll see that although he was cruel, he did not attack every empire arbitrarily. Let's examine this from the beginning. Genghis Khan's first great campaign occurred in Mongolia, where no single king held control. Instead, there were many small tribes, each led by its own chieftain, and these tribes often fought among themselves. Some fights were over the hunger for power and land disputes. Other conflicts were the result of external Chinese dynasties, the Western Xia and the Jin, who ensured that Mongolian tribes remained divided so that no leader could unite them into a single threat against China. Yet Temujin was the only leader who managed to unite these tribes. In 1206, by uniting the Mongol tribes, Temujin declared himself Genghis Khan, the universal ruler. He unified the Mongol tribes and strengthened his army so much that his first target was China. That first campaign began in 1211. Directly confronting the Jin dynasty was difficult, so Genghis Khan decided first to weaken the dynasty. He burned many important cities in northern China, causing the deaths of hundreds of thousands. Rather than entering Zhengzhou, the Jin capital head-on, he surrounded and blockaded key cities, causing famine inside the capital. People died of starvation. Genghis Khan's strategy proved so successful that the Jin ruler surrendered to him. In this way, the whole of northern China came under Mongol control, and next came the Jin dynasty, which controlled eastern China. In 1215, Genghis Khan attacked and carried out one of history's greatest massacres in the capital, Beijing. Ultimately, victory came to Genghis Khan here as well, and both dynasties became part of the Mongol Empire. By this time, Genghis Khan had established one of the world's largest empires, and there was no one willing to face him in battle. But then, once again, something happened. And in the end, victory was once again Genghis Khan's. Both empires became part of the Mongol Empire. By this time, Genghis Khan had built one of the largest empires in the world, and he no longer wished to fight anyone. But then, once again, something unexpected happened. Because of this, Genghis Khan was once again forced into war. The neighboring Karakitai Empire had launched a massive attack on the Mongol Empire, capturing one of its major cities and killing its ruler, who happened to be Genghis Khan's grandson-in-law. This attack was a direct challenge to Genghis Khan's power. So, in 1218, Genghis Khan declared war on the entire Karakitai Empire, and within a short time, he completely destroyed it. The devastation he caused there was so great that it gave him a reputation across the world as a brutal and merciless warrior. After this war, the Karakitai Empire too became part of the Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan then turned his attention back to governing his empire. At this time, his advisors suggested that to make the empire wealthier, he should build trade relations with neighboring empires. Acting as a wise ruler, Genghis Khan accepted this suggestion and sent a strong trade delegation of 500 men to the Khwarazmian Empire, which bordered Mongol lands. But perhaps this peaceful gesture of Genghis Khan didn't sit well with the Khwarazmian ruler, Alauddin Muhammad II. Alauddin ordered the governor of one of his cities, Otrar, to kill all the members of Genghis Khan's trade caravan brutally. This act was a direct challenge to the Mongol Empire. Yet at that time, Genghis Khan responded with patience, or perhaps he had simply grown tired of constant war. Instead of attacking immediately, he tried to resolve the matter peacefully one more time. He sent 3 senior ambassadors to demand that Otrar's governor, the man responsible for killing the Mongol traitors, be handed over to face justice in the Mongol Empire. But the Khwarazmian ruler made the greatest mistake of his life. He humiliated the 3 ambassadors in front of the entire city, executed one of them mercilessly, and sent the remaining 2 back to Genghis Khan with the message to tell him about their humiliation. That was the moment Genghis Khan's patience finally broke. Now he wanted a fierce and decisive revenge. Leading an army of 50,000 soldiers, he marched straight toward Khwarazm, leaving behind mountains of corpses in every city that stood in his path. But this war was not going to be easy. The Khwarazmian Empire also had a massive army, and they were defending their own land. The Mongols had to cross borders and fight in mountainous terrain where Khwarazmian troops were already stationed at the highest points. Yet despite all this, Genghis Khan and his army ruthlessly slaughtered every Khwarazmian soldier they encountered, spreading terror throughout the empire. Alauddin Muhammad II was so terrified by this attack that he abandoned his throne and fled to an island in the Caspian Sea to save his life. Soon after, in 1220, his throne passed to his son, Jalaluddin Mingburnu, but there was little he could do. His army had already been crushed by Genghis Khan. Had he stayed in his capital, Genghis Khan would soon have arrived there and killed him too. So Jalaluddin decided to flee, just as his father had. Jalaluddin fled all the way to Delhi, where Shams-ud-Din Iltutmish ruled at that time. Now, if Genghis Khan wanted, he could have simply crossed the Indus River, invaded India, destroyed the Delhi Sultanate, and taken control of the richest country in the world. But he didn't. Historians have proposed several theories behind this decision. The story begins on a dark night when Genghis Khan, while camped in the Khwarazmian territories preparing to attack India, had a strange dream. In his dream, a unicorn appeared, standing between the borders of Uzbekistan and India, and warned Genghis Khan not to enter India, but to return to China instead. No matter how ruthless Genghis Khan was, he had deep faith in divine signs and spiritual omens. He took this dream as a divine intervention and decided to return without invading India. But can a single dream really make a great warrior abandon his entire plan? This question still echoes among historians. Another theory suggests a more practical reason. Genghis Khan's army was used to cold climates. India's hot weather and difficult geography could have been a serious challenge for them. Moreover, after the long war with the Khwarazmian Empire, his army had suffered heavy losses. So instead of fighting in such a harsh and unfamiliar land, he decided to return to China. But even this theory has its flaws. Qutbuddin Aibak, who had founded the Delhi Sultanate in 1206, came from the cold regions of Europe and had fought successfully in India. Later, Tamerlane and Babur, both from cold regions, also fought and won great battles in India. So, did Genghis Khan's mighty army truly fear India's heat and terrain? Or was there another reason behind his decision? This brings us to the third theory. As we've learned about Genghis Khan's life, he never attacked any empire without a solid reason. Every war he fought had a purpose. For example, he attacked China's Jia and Jin dynasties because they had long oppressed Mongolian tribes, kept them divided, and prevented them from uniting. Meaning, if Genghis Khan hadn't attacked China after uniting the Mongols, those same dynasties might one day have invaded and destroyed the Mongol Empire. Similarly, he attacked the Kara-Kitai Empire because they had attacked the Mongols first and killed one of his city rulers brutally. He attacked the Khwarazmian Empire because their ruler had killed his 500 traders and one ambassador, directly challenging his authority. Every invasion Genghis Khan launched had a strong reason behind it. But India was fortunate in this regard, because Sultan Iltutmish of Delhi had understood Genghis Khan's pattern of warfare. He knew that if Genghis Khan were provoked, he would unleash his unstoppable army on India, just as he had on the Khwarazmian Empire. Therefore, Iltutmish was careful not to give Genghis Khan any reason to attack the Delhi Sultanate. As a result, when Jalaluddin Mingburnu, the Khwarazmian ruler, fled to the Delhi Sultanate to escape from Genghis Khan, Iltutmish refused to grant him asylum. But was this political strategy the real reason Genghis Khan turned back? This leads us to the fourth and final theory. When Genghis Khan was waging war against the Khwarazmian Empire, the ruler of China's Jia dynasty rebelled against him. This was a great betrayal for Genghis Khan. He had to decide immediately whether to attack India or to suppress the rebellion and preserve his power by crushing the Jia dynasty first. And as we've seen, the greatest lesson of Genghis Khan's life was that he wanted to become the kind of powerful king whose authority could never be challenged. And because this rebellion had occurred within his own empire, and that rebellion was a direct challenge to his power, so Genghis Khan decided to return to China and completely destroy the Jia dynasty. Perhaps he also thought that once he crushed this uprising and restored his empire's strength, he would later return to invade India. But then another turning point came, the final one in his life, and that was his death. After completely annihilating the Jia dynasty and strengthening his empire once again, Genghis Khan mysteriously died in the year 1227. After his death, his third son, Ogedei Khan, took command of the Mongol Empire. But with time, the mighty Mongol Empire slowly began to weaken. Eventually, it crumbled and broke apart. In short, I believe that while Genghis Khan was near the borders of the Khwarazmian Empire, he must have thought that after crushing the rebellion in China, he would return and bring India under his control. But that time never came, and in this way, India escaped the invasion of the greatest conqueror in history, Genghis Khan. By the way, I'd like to know what you think. Why do you believe Genghis Khan never invaded India? And if he had invaded, how do you think India's history would have turned out? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Friends, I hope you learned something new from this video and found it truly interesting. If you did, then don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update.